Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just wanted to go over multi-step inequalities and how to solve them. So let me just start at the top here and do a quick review. Just as a reminder, like we learned earlier this year, when you're graphing inequalities, you should consider where the number is on a number line. And then if the inequality tells you that a number is greater than or less than a number, that kind of determines the direction of the arrow. So this statement, reading left to right, literally would translate in words as all values of x greater than -3. So to graph that, you would put the -3 on the number line, use an open circle, and draw an arrow to the right, indicating that starting at -3, but not including -3, all the numbers greater than -3 will work for that solution. Remember, in red here it says an open circle means that the solution does not include or excludes the number -3. The other part of it is if you have a closed circle, so if you're trying to graph all values of x less than +5, but there's a bar underneath the inequality, that means it's all values less than or equal to -5. So if you fill in the circle, that indicates that it includes that number. So all solutions less than 5 and including 5 will be part of the solution, and the bar means includes. So you would read this one literally as all values less than and including 5. So that's just a reminder. If you put them together, this is your solution set. So every single number that exists between these two would be a solution that is true in this case. So we learned this earlier this year as domain, all values of x. So in this case, it's all values of x greater than -3, but not including -3, all the way up to +5. So all numbers less than, at the same time, all numbers less than -5, less than +5, including the number 5, down to -3, but not including -3. So the bar means everything with these inequalities. And just remember, for comparing numbers, there are only a couple of things that are true. Two values can either be equal to each other, they can be not equal to each other, they can be greater than each other. One can be greater than the other, one can be less than the other, one can be greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So this is called the comparison property. When you compare two numbers, one of these is true. So when you solve the equations, you solve them just like normal. Here's a one-step equation, but then there's one rule that you got to be aware of. So if you start off with 4x is less than 24, and you just divide both sides by 4 like you normally would, you still get 24 divided by 4 gives you a 6. 4 divided by 4 gives you 1x, and then you could graph that, all values of x less than 6, with no bar, meaning it excludes the number 6, so you're using that open circle. Compared to if you have a negative number out in front of x, or you have to divide both sides by a negative. So the rule is if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative on both sides, you have to flip the sign. So I wrote that over there. Multiplying or dividing by a negative means you need to change the direction of the inequality. Flip the sign. So when I do that, see how the sign goes from pointing to the left to now pointing to the right? And then it changes the way the graph looks. Okay, so then if you do that for multi-steps as an example, here's the original problem. 9 minus 2x is less than or equal to +3. Solve it just like normal by undoing any addition or subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides, keep it balanced, just like you normally would in an equation. Write your results down. -2x is less than or equal to -6. Then divide both sides by -2, being aware that you are dividing by a negative, so the sign is going to flip, so you have to keep that in your mind. So divide both sides by -2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. It's a negative divided by a negative, so that's going to yield a +3. And then change the sign, flip the direction, and then read it back to yourself. All values of x greater than or equal to 3. Put it on a graph. Everything greater than 3, the little bar means it includes 3, so you fill in the bubble. And that's multi-step inequalities.